All right, all right. Hello, hello. Welcome everyone back to man, it's been a minute, Big K. The latest, greatest happy hour show. How you doing, brother?
Indeed it is, sir. I'm fantastic. I'm feeling great. Glad to be here. Glad to be talking about all the stuff we've been holding back for a while. So now here we are with
We have things to talk about, evidently. I mean, there's news all about the crypto space, RH space, Ethereum space, uh,
mhm.
even traditional markets. So with that being said, man, I mean, we have a couple really cool guests. One that hasn't been on
Yeah.
a while, one that I think was on our last show. So a mix of some RH ecosystems, some old school crypto, Bitcoin, Ethereum. I think we're going to have some really good takes here and some really good discussion. So can't wait to have that. I believe I've seen you on a conference or two. Is that correct?
That's right. That's right. There was a PulseX conference that was just recently, and it was fun to
Shout
be
out
on
to
there.
RH Max.
Yeah, shout out to RH Max. It
Always
was real cool. It was
yeah.
cool. Our timing was perfect. We got the Richard retweet right when I was on, so we got some
Yes, I did
flying
notice that.
numbers. That was
Yeah.
fantastic. It was fantastic. I always like it when I get a little spotlight on me. Can't complain with that, you know. So yeah,
And
and then markets have been ripping, and there's been, as I called out and somebody clipped, there's been cool shit that's been released in the past while. So, I asked, and we're receiving. So cool.
well, for those who are unfamiliar or watching, listening, this is the happy hour show. We've been going at this. I don't even know for how long now. 5 years, maybe, something
Close
like
to it.
that. Yeah, close to it. And I think I just got a reminder on my Snapchat. Somebody sent me that I think it was like 4 years ago. RH was on with us. I think it was four.
Yeah.
So
Oh yeah,
yeah,
with Cody, right?
with Cody, yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I think he might have a year or two left in that bet, and Cody is certainly in the lead right now. But yeah, we're fun and finance. That's kind of our shtick here. We have a good time and also bring some intelligent guests and panelists to the conversation. A little bit about me: I've never run a sacrifice. I've never created a coin, which also means I've never rugged a coin either. So there is that, Big K.
I also am. I fit into those categories, and
There you go.
while I do love participating in the dredges of all of this, um,
I'm
I,
all
I,
about it. I'll admit.
I click lots of buttons.
You don't want to see some of my wallets. Yeah.
No, yeah, some right, some not so right. And I could always give better advice than I probably am taking for myself. But but
This is true, but you know what? I
but
bet
I'm
you
also
in the end, your risk tolerance probably leads you to better gains than that other advice. That's my
that's true.
experience, at least, because you
That's
don't
true.
want to offer up something to somebody that they can't handle it, and it's just like they're like, man, what's all about this? And be like, okay, well, I would have been able to withstand this, or double down, and yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, and I have a background in like math and computer security, so like network security. So I've felt comfortable in crypto for a long time. So I'm like also haven't ever actually like knock on wood gotten. I mean, sure, I've bought something that hasn't panned out plenty, but like actually gotten drained. No, none of that stuff's ever happened. That's it's a brutal world out there. You got to double check every link you ever click and all the rest. You
Yes,
should be very
sir.
very very careful out there.
Yes, sir. Well,
Ooh, RH Max raid, cool.
that was our little intro there. Let's bring on our previously mentioned guests. First of all, returning from perhaps a show ago, Yash Deep. How's it going,
So,
brother?
guys, glad to be back. Thank
Glad
you
to
for
have you,
having me.
sir.
Great to have you, man.
Yeah.
We've been trying to get this going for I don't know a few weeks now, and I've had some complications here with this alternate studio renovation, which I've shared with you guys, and it's still a disaster. I still don't have my desk, obviously.
Oh,
I'm in the kitchen, so
did you say it was broken? Like they broke the desk and then?
oh yeah, they have just the top of it just shattered in half, basically.
Shattered it, yeah.
Yeah. So it's that part is in the trash can. We're waiting on replacement parts. Is the Cabana Studio. So anyway, how you been, man?
Good. Like you guys said, we're happy that at least Ethereum prices are pumping. Something to look forward to.
Hey.
We had one of the biggest whales exit completely. So
yes, the RH ecosystem, right?
Yeah. Out of Pulse X and Hex and
Hex too. Yep.
Yeah, and eHex, and
It's like,
so all things considered, the fact that we're not at new lows, like that, I'd like to take some solace in that. It's good.
Yeah. Well, you did speak of Ethereum, and Ethereum's been a ripper of late, and we have a guest that I think can opine plenty on the ETH. Welcome back, Mr. Dave Levine. How you doing, sir?
I'm very good. Yes, if I talk endlessly about ETH, please cut me off.
It's all good. We're glad to hear it right now.
Well, you've been bullish a long time on ETH. I know you haven't done a video in a few months, but correct me if I'm wrong. But there was a point, maybe with the past year or two, you publicly said, hey, I am rotating a lot of my Bitcoin to ETH. Correct me if I'm wrong. And do you still maintain that bullishness? Like, how you feeling right now about the overall crypto space and that, I guess, allotment / ratio that you have in your portfolio?
Well, yeah, the last bubble, 2021 peak bubble, I was in the zone. I was surfing the wave perfectly, great on time all the time. It was great. This time I've been steady, but not reading the waves quite as clearly. But to answer your question, it was January of 2020 that I decided, and still there are a few people in the world who agree with me, that ETH is better at digital gold than Bitcoin. So, I don't want to argue it. I will, but that idea has not caught on. But anyways, that's when I switched 70% Bitcoin as the portfolio to 70% ETH. That was in 2020. And then in the last bubble, ETH beat Bitcoin by at least from that point, by 3 times. So I was a genius. Then, like many people who were so right, we were ready for it. And hey, this run isn't over. So hey, maybe ETH does go crazy at the end, like it actually did in 2021. But anyways, so far, my opinion, the fundamentals, nothing's changed. My opinion from then and now is nothing has changed. As far as trying to make price predictions, that's tricky business. But I go on fundamentals, and I invest in what I think is the best and the least risky, meaning it ain't going away. And so I've liked ETH for that, and I have felt, which seems to be playing out, that so far in this run, Bitcoin's been accepted. Bitcoin has its thing, but everything else was, you had the Biden administration they weren't, regulating, going after bad guys. They were literally attacking the best and brightest, the best companies, the most law abiding. And Ethereum is supposed, my thesis, besides digital gold, it's the platform for the future banking system. Banks are going to upgrade, and stable coins are a big part of that. And when all of that is illegal, the only thing, Gary Gensler only met with one person, and it was SBF, with FTX. And, he didn't prosecute any of the meme coin pump and dumpers. And so that's stuff that's thrived because, but now it's a new regime. Now things are being legalized. Genius Act has passed. And so maybe, or it's just coincidence with money flows. Sometimes we always like to give an explanation of why things are going up. But in general, I believed in ETH, regardless of who's in the White House. But with a White House trying to make software upgrades in finance legal, I think that's just good for ETH. And then these trust companies is silly, but there's always going to be something stupid in a bull run and whatever. I'll ride it.
Yeah, that the trusts are on the list for sure. And you did mention the Genius Act, so I think Big K might be taking a pause. So I wanted to throw that back to or over to you, Yash. Richard Hart has had his say on the Genius Act. What are your takeaway from it passing? Because a lot of the crypto bros are like, oh my gosh, yes, we got approval. This is like a stamp of approval from the governments and all that stuff. But is there any underlying concerns that you might have? Regarding that, or your own take aside from what's already out there.
Yeah. Well, so I mean, of course, I'm in crypto for the mad gains, but also I'm here because of ideological reasons. I'm here for what Richard used to say, I guess, for the reasons that crypto was invented in the first place. And so, while sure, it's great, that there's more broader adoption. The Trump administration is accepting it. The Wall Street, they're all after it and everything. Great, fine. Buy my back, sure. But, I still do want to speak on for the reasons why crypto was invented in the first place, because as, this narrative has shifted and, Trump's has acknowledged it and he's campaigned on it. And now when you go to any of these big conferences, nobody's really there for, the really the cutting edge technologies and the new innovation. They're there to go see Michael Saylor. They're there to go see the Wall Street guys. And, it's kind of sad to see that, because it's like you guys have lost the plot in a lot of ways. Because those guys, they just say the same thing over and over. They're not, I'd rather go see Vitalik Buterin than Michael Saylor, but that's just kind of what it is. But as far as the Genius and Clarity Act, I think it just gives way for more regulatory capture over time. So if these, bills are like, oh, okay, it's a foot in the door, things were working fine before these bills passed. You still had stable coins, you still had people transacting, you still had exchanges, you had everything. And so like this idea that now it's accepted or now it's approved, like to me, it means nothing. It's just going to lead to more regulatory capture in the future. So it is what it is. I take the position where sure, I'm happy, buy my bags, great, but I'm not going to simp towards these institutions and these administrations like they're, like they did something so amazing. No, crypto was doing fine, and honestly, they couldn't stop it, and so that's why they had to adopt it. And what Dave mentioned about the stable coins, yeah, that's going to grow Ethereum like crazy. Trillions of dollars are going to flow in just through stable coins, and most of it's going to live on Ethereum, so it's going to be good. But there's nothing, as Lynn Alden or whatever her last name is.
Alden, yeah.
Alden, she nothing stops this train. They couldn't stop what was happening. They couldn't stop Tether, which is outside of U.S. jurisdiction, and that's the biggest stable coin that there was, or fiat coin as I like to call them. So yeah, they couldn't stop it, so they passed these regulations. It was, it is what it is. But let's focus on why crypto was invented, and it's to get rid of these middlemen and these counterparties that we don't need. And hopefully, the Genius and Clarity Act will at least allow for people to pay with crypto, and I guess at least maybe that's the next step. Is if you have everybody mass accepting these wallets, stable coins, maybe you can start to pay with Ethereum. Maybe you can start to pay with other cryptos outside of stables. And that would be cool. We've had that before as well, but maybe there's more adoption for that. So there's some good things, but overall, I don't know. Crypto native over here, just don't care for too much of the regulatory stuff.
Well, this reminds me of a lesson I learned. I'm 57. I had an e-commerce business I was CEO for 20 years. When the web started, I got on in 1995. I created one of the first affiliate programs. And similar to crypto, I was like, oh, everything's being decentralized. Anybody can get on. Anybody can build a website. This is disrupting everything, and it was. But then, you know, the story, 5 companies took over. And on one hand, you could say, and then it just centralized again on top of the web. And on one hand, you say, oh, you know, evil central forces take over, and Google was evil and maybe still is evil with some of their shenanigans. But if you think about it, YouTube is still better than it was when I was younger and there were 5 channels on TV. You know, it's still, as much as we're complaining, it is more decentralized. And but the other thing I like to remember is I was in denial for longer than I should have been that there was a new regime moving in, and things centralize and decentralize, and it's a swaying. And I agree sort of with your point there that, you know, maybe it is centralizing on top of the decentralized platforms, but I think the result will be better than it was. The other thing is regarding Tether, you know, crypto was doing okay. I think the difference with the Stablecoin Act is that, you know, again, with the evil creatures who were in the White House before, they were pushing people to Tether. Remember, they attacked USDC in the crash. Like USDC, they were, I mean, it was behind, but who did, you know, Gensler and his buddies go after? It was USDC. And so people ran, and I remember the USDC when it lost its peg. Where did we go? We go to Tether. So they were, now what's going to happen is instead of it all Tether being the only option, there's a lot of options, and and now there'll be Visa. We'll be doing, so, you know, when you use your credit card, eventually transactions are going to be, you know, settled immediately over a crypto network, and so the bill allows that kind of growth. And the other point too is, you know, there were moments when we all believed that maybe Bitcoin would be a medium of exchange, ETH would be the thing we use to buy things or whatever. It's the dollar, it turns out, and there's no stopping. That is, I don't care who wants to do what, even if Elon wants to make Doge, it's going to be the dollar everywhere. But at the same time, I think you're going to have a wallet, and you're going to have 100% of your money in Bitcoin, Hex, or ETH, and then as soon as you hit buy, it sells it, converts it into dollars, and sells, and it goes. So again, I think it's an improvement, but you know, the store of value might get disrupted. The medium of exchange, which is the technology, gets disrupted. But the pricing and the things we use, you know, final pricing of things just looks like the dollar is not going away. And you know what? That's not bad if you live in America. You know, with our and with the treasury bonds backing all of those, we've got a big debt problem. It's a bit of a it might buy us out of this disaster a little bit.
All right, let's finish going counterclockwise. And Big K, that goes over to you.
Thoughts I mean, I'm just hoping that.
Wait a second. I almost forgot. It's very important. This is happy hour, right? So, what beverage do you have this evening?
Oh, this is a fine 2012 Cabernet that I got. That's oh my gosh, it's really nice. It's really nice. Like I was saying to y'all before, there's a winery just closed right by us. You know, RIP to them, but we got some fantastic deals when I was moving through there. So this is very, very lovely.
I'm gonna have me since I'm on the Gulf of America. This is from Voodoo Ranger, the Danger Beach.
Nice.
There we go. All right. Proceed, Big K.
So I'm just excited that governments might buy our bags. That's neat. And what's more exciting about that is that if things happen how they have before, then maybe, just maybe, they get to go down 60%, 80% too. And they got to feel the pain that we get to feel every 4 years. That'd be really neat. That'd be like a really fun game for us all to play together. It's like a world, you know? So like, we'll see. You know, but like usually I feel like that's where we're going here. I feel like we're ramping up, and yeah, sure, pay your taxes in Bitcoin or what the fuck ever. I don't care. I think it's all, like, I'm with Yash on a lot of it. It's all pretty silly. I think it was doing fine before. We get a lot more people to buy now. A lot of people are going to feel all comfortable and warm and squishy about this shit now. Great. Sounds good. You know, like I said, hopefully they buy before, you know, the governments fill their bags, and then we go down 60 to 80%, which will probably happen, which is fine. you know, and it'll be fun. This will be fun. Like before, like the groups of people getting wrecked was partially me. It was like tech bros and whoever, like that was me, you know. So like I love it when somebody else gets the show, join the party, and then hey, this everything's different now, and then no, it's not actually. That's as we were saying backstage. The down can be fun too, depending on who's feeling the pain the hardest.
Well, I agree on that, at least with how things are going. Either gold, Bitcoin, or some combination of the two are going to end up being the world reserve, you know, and so that just means the dollar is going to be devalued against those. You know, this is there's a lot of people on YouTube that are starting to talk about this now, and so yeah, the 60% down for the dollar. Yeah, if the DXY goes to 60, 70, like I'm here for it, because it's just gonna flow into the risk assets. So it'll flow into stocks as well, but I think Bitcoin, Ethereum stables, they stand to benefit. And you know, somebody mentioned the bond market is being ruined, and it's trash. It's true. It's not looking good. Yeah, nobody wants to buy the debt, and so who would want to buy that debt? It's pretty trashy, and so yeah, I mean. I'm happy. I'm happy. It's fine, but I do still want to focus on, you know, the crypto.
I agree with you, dude. I agree. I think that there should be more focus on, you know, and I think there's going to come a time when there will be some usefulness for actual decentralized platforms. You know, that there definitely there's upsides to it that we've seen in actual practice that greatly outweigh centralized systems. You know, so like in certain ways, I understand exactly what you're saying, Dave, that like this is still better. You know, like if crypto replaces banking, then like at least you get 24/7, 365 banking. You know, you don't have to wait till, you know, banker hours. At least, you know, the services are going to be better. You get to click in buttons instead of have to talk to some annoying banker for things. It's a lot, like there's a lot of upgrades to it that I agree. You know, even if we get a shittier, you know, watered down centralized version of it, it's still better. But I'm hoping, like you said, Yash, I'm hoping for, you know, so like, and the bill as things are written, it's not like it's going after those more decentralized, you know, networks and or like stable, like, you know, if you're an algorithmic stable coin, like a liquid loansy kind of thing, like none of that's actually, that's fine. It's fine. It's not going to being, you know, attacked.
Even DAI,
so,
like
yeah,
DAI is collateralized by crypto.
Yeah.
It doesn't fall in the payment system stablecoin category.
So like I rarely am like, oh, this might be good legislation, and I'm not saying, and that's not what I'm saying here, but I'm saying that part of it is okay. So like,
right, yeah, and I agree that on the part that you know, as long as they don't make decentralization illegal, they don't make competition illegal, which is what it seems like, is like they're at least allowing for stablecoin. You can still innovate in that area without being labeled into this regulatory framework where now you have to follow the rules and you have no options. So in that sense,
we can still operate in the back alleys of crypto somewhere, which is
yeah, and
fine. That's where I thrive, anyways. I try to thrive in the darkness, so we're good here.
Yeah, my view on the good part of the decentralization is Ethereum is decentralized. I think it remains decentralized, and it really is positioning itself to be the final word on settlement. So whereas now, I don't know that there is a final word. I don't know that they actually can reconcile things. But at the end of the day, it's like the central bank, and it's murky. And that is certainly the central bank is not decentralized. Ethereum and all these stable coins, all these transactions, it is a much fairer, I would argue, very decentralized system. And then now what builds on top of Ethereum probably ends up being, we thought everything is going to be decentralized. Every application, every, you know, decentralized Uber, it's probably going to be in the long term, a lot of centralized stuff, but it's on this better platform that is more fair and worldwide that anyone can build on. And sometimes I think like now that stuff is accepted, people are like, oh, I don't care about decentralization. But if it wasn't for the fact that they couldn't stop Bitcoin and Ethereum, that we've able, we had to, if those things weren't decentralized, we wouldn't be where we are. And now, since they couldn't stop it, if you can't beat them, join them, and that's where we are now. And
even if it's just that they figured that that's like the thing that they can't, they're like, we can't go after that, so why bother spending any more time? It's even if that's just their end game, or the feeling on it, fine. I think that, like I said, I'll gladly operate a parallel channel, wherever. But and you're right, like if everything ends up being set up, for the most part, Ethereum does feel decentralized enough to where your shit's not getting rolled back, and there, like, in counterparty risk that you want to get into, there are things, you're right too, that there are things that if you want to use these products, there needs to be some acceptance of, maybe this doesn't have all admin key free. Maybe this isn't entirely, there is some centralized elements to make this shit work. I mean, there's some big components out there. I could name Aave to be one of them. That's like, it's a fantastic piece of software, that works great, but it does have centralized components, and it wouldn't work otherwise. So fine, like that's fine.
That one's actually pretty decentralized
it's
compared
very
to
close.
a lot of features.
That's what I'm saying. And I'm
but look at Hyperliquid. I don't even think
that's another one that's one that's like, that story is gonna sound great for a long time until it doesn't. But
on the other hand, Hyperliquid does have this feature where everybody's allowed to see everyone else's trade. I don't know that much about it, but it seems like it has some new openness features, and that's why it's so popular. And I don't know. I'm the optimist here.
Hyperliquid is really
cool.
I like that because it's extremely fast because there's only one validator. But it's permissionless. So in that sense, that's why people say it's decentralized. And, there is no perfect, admin key free decentralization where there's no kind of there's always some counterparty risk with like even your ISP provider, they're going to be tracking your the websites you're on and stuff. And so or the RPC that you use, like there's, they're tracking, they can easily pull your information. They can get together and figure out what times does this guy usually trade on a particular wallet, and then they can, there's all types of stuff you can do. There's actually a video where Chain Analysis was teaching IRS on how to track Monero. It's available on Rumble or something.
Right, I've seen that.
If you want to go watch it, it's actually an interesting video. But even the things that we think are totally privacy and just completely anonymous, no, there's ways around it. So yeah, there's definitely trade-offs, and this is great that the direction we're heading in. I just want to always reiterate that let's always stay focused on some of these decentralization ideals, because if us crypto natives don't focus on it, the broader crypto community, and then just like all the normies, they're never going to care, right? Nobody cares about privacy right now because they just sign it away, terms and conditions. Nobody reads it. They just want free stuff, but it does come at a cost. And so if we don't push it, nobody else will.
The other thing I was going to mention, just you had mentioned also about DXY and the debt. I don't know how any fiat currency does against gold, Bitcoin, or Ethereum, but as far as the DXY is the dollar versus the other fiat currencies. And I don't know if you listened to Brent Johnson, Milkshake. I do agree with his thing, which is where the the cleanest shirt in the laundry, or whatever, the dirty, I don't know, the best looking horse in the glue factory, whatever it is. The dollar compared to these other countries is actually, so I don't know how we would collapse against all these other countries. And then also as far as the debt, as it is now, I don't mind having some money in a money market paying me 4.5%. And in crypto land, there's a lot of places where you can put your money in. I consider it to be quite safe, where I'm getting 6%. Sometimes you lock it up for like 20 days and you can get 7-8% with things. That's not, whatever. As an old guy who likes to have some things not volatile, and then if we do if the market's really high and you want to reduce risk, earning 4 to 7% interest on dollars, which is thanks to all of this treasury bonds where they're printing money. It's certainly not like 0% was years ago. So
no, that's true.
So just to elaborate on why I said the DXY going down, what I'm trying to say is I don't think the dollar is going away in terms of it's being used across the world for as a medium of exchange, in all these stable coins and these companies buying up treasuries, like that adoption is still going to be there. But if we want manufacturing to come back, for example, to the States, the dollar has to fall, because otherwise it has to fall in terms of its purchasing power, and that's the only way you can get manufacturing to be affordable in the States. And so basically inflation is what I'm getting at. So the DXY coming down, maybe that's not the one chart to focus on, but just in general, that there's going to be a lot of inflation. Stable coins are going to help propagate that. They're all going to funnel into the higher risk stuff at some point, and it's going to be good. And if they can get the purchasing power down enough, then manufacturing becomes more affordable in the States. And then that's where you have an opportunity with real growth. But we'll see. I mean,
yeah. I mean, none of that is wrong, except for that there's other ways that we could increase manufacturing if they, make it legal to make nuclear power plants, reduce all these regulations. They're trying to. As someone who lives in California, where you have government people, just like it was with crypto, where if you do good work, they want to kill you. If you actually, I believe there's a way to have growth here just by having a policy. Instead of favoring criminals, you favor the hardworking business guy, right? The Uber driver, the DoorDash driver who parks, in San Francisco, he gets a ticket. Whereas the drug dealer in the tent, he's fine. On the sidewalk next to the DoorDash guy, right? They give the ticket to the workers. And if we can change that mentality, which I think we're trying to do, maybe we can grow just by being awesome and not just by lowering prices. We'll see. I'm not predicting. I'm just saying.
I think that both would be for sure helpful. But I agree that there could be some cutting away of some of that bullshit. But I do agree with what Yash is saying, that I think overall we do when you have such high purchasing power versus the rest of the world, what is our incentive to fucking build this shit here? It's just not there. It's still cheaper for us to just have somebody else and by a large shot margin. These people that are in factories building this shit, that they're making oodles less, and the margins are high, it's definitely.
Although you could say that the tariffs technically are 10 to 15% price adjustment,
For sure. And I think that there's a lot of different ways to do it, but whenever you have government trying to come in and subsidize some shit or make some sort of stuff to make it seem cheaper, I mean, you really need the actual GDP growth of people building and doing things, and that we could really use. We could really use an increase in, for sure.
Yeah. So in my before crypto, I was an engineer. I worked in product development, but also some of it in manufacturing. And just through my experience, manufacturing, I mean, we could talk about this for days and days, and we'll never come to a definitive conclusion on what is the right path. But just to give you an example of how bad it is, if you wanted to make just some plastic parts in America, the cost is easily 10 times, 20 times what it would cost you to have it made in China, because just, for example, the tooling, the solid blocks of steel that you need, the tooling to make one simple tiny plastic part. I think people just lack the education on this, but if you wanted to make, this is a calculator, this little piece of plastic, it requires a 20-ton machine that's going to be able to
injection mold
this plastic. And so the capabilities just aren't here. And even if you were to try to bring them back, you still have to manufacture that solid block of steel in China, ship it over, pay all those costs, and then you have to pay the wages here, and you have minimum wage laws and all. And so I agree on some of the policy stuff definitely could make some improvements, but fundamentally the numbers just don't add up, and it's sad. I'm actually trying to start my own manufacturing and engineering company again, and we'll see where it goes. But there's a lot of hurdles. It's not easy.
It took China 30 years to get to where it is, and it took us 30 years to get this out of shape. I like Balaji's quote about, America's like a 40-year-old guy who used to, bench 250, and he's going back to the gym. It's like, oh yeah, we're just gonna get right back into it. It's gonna take a while, we don't have the whole ecosystem. There's a lot to do.
Yeah, I mean, I worked in scrap metal for quite a bit of time too. Amidst my college and whatever journey, and built a bunch of databases for them. And what we watched in scrap stuff was basically China buying up, like all of this metal. They've just been buying up the shit ton of all the heavy metals and precious metals from this stuff for a while. That was what it's different. It's like it's changed where it's all been shipped to some degree, but like for a long time it was like all the cores for your starters, alternators, all that kind of shit, all that copper, all that shit straight to China. All of it. They bring us, shipping containers full of plastic garbage, and we ship them good ass, industrial metals. You're like, this is shit's. I remember being like, this is not going to end well for us. 15 years ago.
Yeah. Well, getting kind of back into the crypto realm. Yeah, why I think most of us are here in the audience, especially. The subject was just briefly mentioned earlier on, but I did have it as a bullet point to talk about. Was the ETH treasury company? Not sure who brought up, either Yash or Dave, but I mean, we got Joe Lubin, who was like a co-founder of Ethereum with what is it, SharpLink? That's ticker SBET. We got, I think, Tom Lee with his now. Of course, they're following suit because Bitcoin, has had their treasury companies, and now it's like a run on ETH. BlackRock, of course, everybody's like, well, why is Trump and BlackRock, months ago buying up all this Ethereum? Well, I kind of think now we know, and they were first, and they kind of had a little insight to what would happen as the supply of ETH, is getting kind of gobbled up, as Joe Lubin's saying. So I guess maybe I'll go back to you, Dave, is like, does this end well, or like, is this kind of like a good sign that a lot of the supply is getting soaked up, as Joe Lubin says? What's your view on these treasury companies, posing as stock?
Yeah, this whole thing, we had this last cycle with Grayscale where you can go buy Bitcoin, or in Grayscale, they'll buy it. You buy Grayscale, they buy Bitcoin, but you're going to pay twice the price for the Bitcoin. And like the more expensive it got, the more people loved it and went up more. And then they wanted to borrow against it. I never understood it. And now here we are again. It's basically the same thing. You can go buy Bitcoin. You could even borrow money to buy Bitcoin, but instead they create a company. You buy a company who borrows money to buy Bitcoin, and you're getting it, like I said, more expensive. It's not at a 1-to-1. You're paying like twice the price, and the more expensive it gets, the more they love it. And then I just saw someone tweeted, there's one of these things where, so you got your ETH, you got a company who buys ETH. Now if you buy a company who buys ETH, you're buying ETH for twice the price. Now that company, they're going to tokenize the company. So I guess that makes it worth even twice more. Like, it's just insanity. And then it all crashes and everyone's like, oh, you can't trust the technology. I think it's insane. Now, granted, in order to have these crazy blow off tops, you have to do what I like to call, get all the morons to come in. So we're getting into that stage where it gets. Now, I'm not saying Joe Lubin.
I like to call them savvy investors, at least to their face, but
yeah, and the guys running the pump and dumps are not morons. It's just
no.
a little sketchy, but they get all of the people who love it. I know many people who the more expensive it is, the more they love it. So
cheers to the savvy investors out there.
Yes.
Yeah. So listen, this is, to me is a sign where the bull is beginning. The bulls has started, whatever it was in 2023 when the Bitcoin ETF was started, but now we're getting into, hopefully it continues. Who knows what goes on here, but we're getting into the crazy stage.
Yeah, this is but there's a lot of things that we don't have yet, We don't have people buying $1 million rock pictures and shit yet, like NFTs just came, I seen a little bit of motion on them, so a lot of stuff that hasn't happened. But the question that I have been asking smart people is these cycles. So everyone would have said end of this year is the top, but now everybody wants to tell me that we're on some extended ass 2020. It's going to run all the way through 2026.
Well, I had someone just call me today he's long story, stumbled into Bitcoin and wanted my advice. I talked to him over a year ago. I said, remind me what I told you, because I was curious if I still, same thing I said then, which is if you follow the 4-year cycle, the thing that would happen is the peak is late 2025, fall 2025. And my advice has been since 2022, start dollar cost averaging once Bitcoin crosses 150 and ETH crosses 10,000. Now, at the beginning of the bull, it looked like we were way ahead of schedule. Oh my God, we're going to be there in no time. This is going fast. Then it looked like we were taking a pause, which turned into, it looks like the 4-year cycle is over. But I remember saying multiple times, I grew up in Boston, in the 80s, loving the Celtics. And you get used to being down by 17 points in the third quarter, and somehow, Larry Bird swishes and we win. And, so I was just saying, hey, listen, if the cycle continues, I'm not going to call it dead until it's over. But it was looking really bad. And now I'm Bitcoin crossing 150 no longer even looks like it's a bold call. ETH crossing 10,000 still looks ambitious, but whatever, and that would be the 4-year side. But that whole, I hate, on one hand, trying to predict prices is stupid and nobody should do it. On the other hand, I can't stop doing it and we all love it. So
it's the truth. All the tenets. I'm I got into this for delayed gratification. Just wait. Well, I'm all fine with that. But then hey, here we are every month talking about this shit, Jack. So how about that, Cabana?
How about that?
Well, something really quickly on the timeline. I get emails from the standwithcrypto.com, they helped push the regulations through. I got an email today that said the Genius Act will go into effect either 18 months or 120 days after the U.S. Treasury and Federal Reserve publish final regulations, whichever comes first. So I imagine
a year and a half away.
Yeah, so it's high priority, but that I don't know what it means for timeline. It could. The Clarity Act is heading to August. So I think sometime in early September we'll have the Clarity Act and the Anti-CBDC Act cleared away. So I'm not actually putting a prediction out there for when the tops will be in or if it's going to be a year or whatever, but even though that these bills have passed, they haven't actually been implemented yet, and it could take some time.
Although I wouldn't confuse fundamentals with a bull market. The fundamentals are the fundamentals. This is a positive thing, but the peak. I remember the 2018 crash. I was it can't go down 80%. This time, everything's so great. It was there was so many great things. There was no problems, but it was just, we all got too high on our own supply. It's it's like being at a party at 2 a.m. and it's I'm having so much fun. There's no way it's going to end at 4 a.m., and then the next day you have a headache till 12. Doesn't matter. So, yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about.
Big K knows what.
I actually, my propensity to not have a hangover is pretty top notch. But
humble brag. Sorry.
but that's not to say that I don't. I'm not aware of the feeling. I'm for sure aware of it. I have stayed a couple too long nights out there. But anyways, no, I agree. The party is the party, and here we are in it. And I just am asking that. It's like, man, what time's the noise ordinance? Are we going till 2 or are we going to 4? Is this should I sell everything at Christmas? Well,
let me
or
throw this out there. Is this alt season like? Are we in it? Is this the start of it, or like do we?
It seems like it seems like Bitcoin's breaking down on the dominance chart.
Yes,
that's what it looks like. But but the last 2 times it broke down and we went into some alt season, it was pretty violent and fast, like relatively fast, and we were up at like 72%, went down to 40 or 55 or 60%, very fast, Yeah. So let me, it doesn't feel like it's like, we're slow. I still feel like Bitcoin has more in the tank, Yeah.
All right. Well, let me pose the question this way to Dave. I think I may have asked you this, Yash, last show, but I want to get Dave's take on this. Is this cycle? There are just thousands upon thousands more just junk coins out there. So will this alt season, if there is one, be diluted because just so much of this money has been diluted throughout all these, just silly coins and junk coins and all that, to where it's like, man, there's so much money being just shuffled about that, the stuff that, should pump, in quotes, it just doesn't happen with all the pizzazz that it did last time.
Well, my advice is always to just buy the really good things that you're convinced will be delivering more value to people in 5 years. And then if you're wrong,
just stuff with utility.
Because it's real, or it's delivering value. I missed, I was on the internet in the 90s and I was like, well, Amazon doesn't have any profits, Facebook's not making any money. And then I had in hindsight, I was like, well, why did I miss that? Because I was like, you gotta have profits. If you don't have profits, but what it was it's huge, delivering tons of value to people. So they'll figure out how to make money. If there's an app, I like mentioned Aave, it's like the largest pool of money with borrowing and lending on the whole internet. Borrowing and lending is a real service that helps people, whether you're, on which side you're on. And that's, so that's real value. And so anyways, I don't like chasing the whatever games, and gambling is a thing. I'm not into all that. And so, but the bottom line is that when everything goes up a lot. But I don't know, that kind of stuff. You pick your portfolio based on good things, have most of it in the big sure things. Your Bitcoin and Ethereum is definitely going to participate in the crypto bull. Bitcoin's already had a lot of participation. But anyways, you pick your things and you wait for your turn. Usually, those little things, they have their month or 2 months in the sun and it goes crazy. And if you're up 10x, you sell some. I remember yelling about this in 2021. It literally, and then when I would say it in 2022, reminding people, you're up 1,000% in 6 months. That's a time to sell some. And it sounded like I was telling people to speak Chinese, and then months later, you're like, oh my God, I can't believe nothing will ever go up that much again. And then, we're getting back to that with some of these things. And, but we haven't had the altcoin run by any means, or even ETH. It's up, but it's not crazy town right now at all. So either there's no cycle or it's coming, but this is not.
We haven't gotten even one rate cut yet. You'd imagine interest rates to be a bit lower and more money to be in the system before we hit some sort of top.
Yeah, supposedly they're printing, and there's other countries doing that. Yeah, who knows? I find it impossible to track. I agree with the theory, which is like, are they pumping money in the system? But it's like, everyone's got a different M2 chart, and
that is true. Everybody does have it.
I don't know. I can't figure it out. There was that one chart where the prices were tracking exactly on M2. Were you watching that when it started going up in April, and then it just went off that chart? I don't know where it is now, but it's just.
And I think that chart may have suggested that we get a break right when we are, at right now. So Bitcoin kind of topped out around 125. And I think last show, maybe I might have said that's kind of where, I would have taken some off the table. And I've been like a net seller over the past month, and I've been putting more into, certain projects, which or products, excuse me, which I have tweeted about and perhaps bought the local bottom recently, and hope that sticks. But we will talk about that more here in a second. But speaking of those kinds of things, I don't know, where do we want to go with this? Because I guess, Dave, we've talked a lot about Ethereum here for maybe close to an hour, but I'm always curious of your perspective, because you were one of the, I won't say like the early ones, but perhaps like early interviews for Richard Hart back in the day. I think this was even before, it might have been even called Bitcoin Hex back then.
It's when he was launching, because I was like,
yeah,
as much as whether I believed in the thing or not, are you going to give me free coins?
Right.
I'd like to do that. And then I went on his show, and it was funny because I could not understand his thing. I found it to be so complex. I went on the show. I'm like, I don't understand. How do I do this? And like, he's explaining. I'm like, I don't get it. And then everyone was yelling at me, you're so stupid. And I'm just like, I don't know.
Well, all that stuff aside, I'm assuming you've at least, I guess, followed like the legal stuff with the SEC, and he actually defeated the SEC. It wasn't even like a dismissal; like he legit defeated them, in court. What is your take on that, just from like a mainstream / outsider perspective? Because as you've said, you're more into like the more main coins, like a Bitcoin, ETH, maybe an Aave. I've heard you talk about a bunch, like Chainlink and stuff like that. But does someone actually defeating the SEC, does that, from an outside perspective, be like, okay, maybe there's something here to this, because the government agency, went after a guy, and he was basically just totally just defeated them. And I was just curious as to an outsider's take on that, because we have the community's take, all the time.
I first of all, I haven't followed Hex that closely, and I may make total errors in assessing all this stuff. What I used to say, and maybe this court case makes it true, which is I was like, I don't think he's a scammer. I just don't. This investment, I've always said, it's not for me, and it's not even. It's just to me, the Hex system with how long you lock it up, and it's to me it's a game or gambling, which again, it's not. And if it's truly decentralized, I think Richard owns a lot of the coins, right? Which to me makes it, maybe it's not a fair game. He has an advantage or something. And he probably has some sort of an advantage, but even with that, but the point is, it's a game. Is it a fair game or not a fair game? Do you want to play the game? Go for it. That doesn't make something a scam. And so now it's legal. But for me, when I invest in, it's not even that, is it bigger? Is the thing that I'm giving money to, giving value to a lot of people. And I just looked at, the chain, there's not activity. He's basically created a new chain. A lot of these, app chains hasn't gotten any attraction. I don't know if you follow Frax. I loved Frax. I thought it was a great idea. They did the Frax chain, and nobody goes there. It's like, So a lot of these times you create a new chain, and then it just doesn't. It's very hard to get the traction. I'm not seeing any usage, by people. That's what I watch for. And the same thing I've said. Speaking of Frax, it's like people are like, oh, now they got the Genius Act, or oh, they're doing this, they're doing that. I'm like, how many stable coins are in circulation? It's been going down. It's flat. I don't care what I think and the tech and all these, and do you like the founder and all this stuff? If I see stable coins going up, then I will think it's good. So if I see tons of activity or things, or what I've always said with Hex, it's like it's a money market and it's savings and all this stuff. If I see it integrated within DeFi and lots of uses for it, then I would be bullish. But I don't see that. So it's just, it doesn't mean like a lot for a minute.
I mean, PulseChain has plenty of volume, I think, compared to a bunch of junk out there. But, I'm not going to, jump into a debate on that. But Big K and Yash, any takes from, opposite takes from an outsider to be like, hey, this is what I think. Any thoughts being in this community and be like, all right, you know what? Or, hey, I kind of agree with that kind of thing.
As far as like the decentralization part of it, like we've been here for like 5 years now, and we've had a lot of sell pressure and sell pressure.
Hello, sell pressure.
So there's a lot of people, Richard aside, the rest of the community, they've had plenty of time to get in or get out. And so as far as that like talking point goes, I don't think that matters as much. I don't think it's not as valid. There's still going to be more sell pressure. Obviously, this is what we're in here for, is to make money. But yeah, I just don't. I think enough time has gone by where I don't think that should be a focus. There's still a lot of people that would want to get in if they see an opportunity, and they won't really care. So for example, a lot of people complain that we're not at sack rate, and sure, I totally get that. But it also makes sense to the newcomer to not care about the sack rate because it doesn't matter to them. They just want to know that there's some opportunity. Now they can evaluate that, hey, there's all these people that are under sack rate. They're going to want to sell at sack rate or maybe.
And I guess to be fair for Dave, could you define sack rate?
I was about to interrupt with that. It sounds a little pornographic.
So when PulseChain, I don't know if I'm allowed.
Before launch, Richard is like an ICO, but instead everybody sacrificed money. It's like we're basically like you gave up money. You're not getting any of this cash back. And so now if you go on to if you go to the ETH treasury list right now, PulseChain is like the PulseChain treasury is like the third largest or fourth largest holder of Ethereum, like in the world. So like you have, so like regardless of the metrics, which we are, as far as like active communities, we do have, there's 10 to 20,000 active users daily. So it is like there is a community here that is participating regularly, and as far as on-chain activity goes, we are some of the most voluminous on-chain. Now again, I agree, in the world of crypto, a lot of this shit goes on exchanges, and there's lots of volume going on there. So like that's the consistent argument. But on-chain shit, because like that's kind of the whole preachy thing that that we find important is all the using this stuff. So like we do have quite a bit of volume there. Now,
can I interrupt just on the usage? And someone else posted a comment. One of the top chains for usage. Using it for what? What is the use?
There's a whole bunch of different products. Like there's all the Ethereum products do exist like in forked versions. So if you want to use Aave, there is a forked version of it that you can use, and you can lend, basically lock up your hex in it and borrow USDC or a whole bunch of different stuff on it, just like Aave, but literally a fork of it. Same thing with like GMX. There's a fork of GMX. There's a fork, like all these different products that are on Ethereum. We've got a whole bunch of them already forked and working, and teams working on it. So there's a bunch of different development teams that I could name that have a lot of different products that you've already heard of that are all at basically their cycle lows and haven't had a chance to really do their thing. So like there's, as far as opportunity goes, I do find that that's an awesome selling point for PulseChain, as well as the fact that like really there hasn't been like for the amount of users that there are using it regularly, and the amount of people that have gotten out, as you mentioned, the sacrifice. There's a lot of people sacrifice this money, and so you have this like there's always going to be this, is Richard going to pump this shit? He's sitting there with 107 and just one of the sacrifice wallets from PulseChain. There's like two different, one for Pulse and PulseX, and the one is just sitting there with 170 some odd thousand Ethereum, 68 whatever thousand Ethereum, waiting to maybe pump the shit, and it wouldn't take but anything to do that, So, there's always going to be, for any other investor out there, like this looming, what if he does that? That like you have to kind of assess. So, those things aside, I do think that there's some good things to look at here. There's some real good things. It's a lot cheaper to use PulseChain than Ethereum, and it's all the same. It's an ETH 2.0 fork, so like we have basically all the same stuff that Ethereum's running.
I just put in the comments on for DeFi Llama. Oh, it didn't. Comment has failed to post. On DeFi Llama, you can look at chains, and I pull up PulseChain, and that's where I'm not seeing much usage, other than PulseX dexes, maybe. Let's see what that is.
That's another thing that's interesting too, is that like I find that like you go like, for instance, one of the bigger we have a balancer fork, and none of the volume that's on that balancer fork gets tracked on DeFi Llama, on Dex Screener, on a bunch of different places that you're like, man, if this was being tracked, there's millions of dollars more flowing volume from some of these stuff that's existing on PulseChain. But like recently we had DE Bank like had supported us for a long time, and out of nowhere decided that they weren't going to support PulseChain. I mean, they're supporting chains that have 1/10 the volume that we even have, but for some reason that, yeah, of course, Hexicans here, Tobarus will say gatekeeping, there's a million speculative reasons why, but like whales from Pulse came together and were like, reached out to them and we're like, hey guys, we would pay for whatever the server cost is to run our shit if that's the problem. And they were like, no dice, they're not willing to work with us. So for whatever reason, they're not willing to work with us. It makes it so that tracking a lot of the stuff going on Pulse is actually pretty difficult.
So is your argument, so when
my argument is just that
I look at Ethereum, and so for example, you mentioned Aave, a fork of it, or let's just say Aave, a fork is also on PulseX. So you have Ethereum, which is clearly working, and you have Aave, which is, I don't know how many times much bigger than whatever might be on PulseX. Even if it's working and people are using it, why wouldn't you go to the one?
The tokens that just because the tokens that you want to use aren't supported there. Like I can't lend my Hex. I can't like borrow against my Hex on Aave. They're never gonna add my token. So like I can on this system. So like for people that want other choices. That's all. That's kind of the idea, is that if you want cheaper transactions and faster like cheaper, faster, whatever is a, all that's, marginal and everything else, like if Pulse was wildly successful, then we would have similar fee structure to Ethereum, but at the moment it's insanely cheap to work on it. It would be slightly cheaper than Ethereum, but like it's cheap to use now, so like I get to do the same stuff. I have this, and there's a consistent network of developers developing on here, so that there is a base of activity that's going on, and it doesn't match the valuation, you know what I mean? So like there's definitely opportunity there. That's kind of my thesis on it all.
There's definitely a diehard community like I've never seen.
Yeah,
I mean, I would think that this drop would have
literally the third biggest wallet in the system just dumped like 600 million Hex on both chains and billions and billions of PulseX and shit, and like it got eaten up super hard, and it's like, all right, that dude's done. Where's the next sell pressure? Like there's not another big sell pressure like that around the corner, so like there's some, all right, this might be a good moment for us.
The risk reward is just in our favor, I feel like, and it's we do have basically a parallel economy to Ethereum, and I think that's good. This is a competition that we talked about, and
there we go, lights out.
Would you could pitch it in a lot of different ways, but somebody could look at Ethereum and say, oh, that's like, it's almost $4,000. Am I going to buy that, or am I going to buy this Pulse, which is, a copy of PulseChain, and it's like fractions of a penny? you know, and it's like, oh, well, and they have a lot of people on Twitter, and we get loud, we get annoying. And if there is a pump, God willing, I think this community would just go crazy. We would be just as loud as annoying as we were the last cycle. That got all the attention.
No.
Oh yeah, and then and I think it's all gonna get worse. Like people, like crypto people, are gonna be agitated by us again. I mean, we were talking about this. I don't know if you had a segue into all this, Cabana, but like, so just as of recently, there's the news that Richard just tweeted about a day or two ago was that there's hundreds of thousands of these free electronic gift marketing tools that are going to be being shipped out.
I think the term was devices.
So
before you go on, Big K, let's the devices that you were talking about, nobody knows 100%. So chat, what kind of devices do you think they will be? And we'll throw it to you, and then we will, opine.
I could opine myself, but we'll give you guys a chance to respond in kind in the chat. But yes, these devices, and I mean, that's these gonna have containers of these going out around, so like, and Richard had made some mention, like he gets a lot of shit for being some kind of marketing spam king master back in the day, right? So like, all right, what does that look like in actuality? So if Pulse has a big marketing campaign and has some, like, last time Hex went up as much as it did, some in part of that was because a lot of marketing materials were sent to some of the wealthiest neighborhoods in the world. And, a lot of people yelled about it. You saw it on Twitter. You saw it on the internet, people showing pictures of the marketing materials that they received with great rage, much anger, and much frustration at the existence of that materials, which, I mean, shows that you're getting through to people. There's a lot of people who got that information, and most definitely some that bought. And so like if there was some kind of grand marketing plan for it, then that would be something that, at the moment, only, these 10,000 or so active users daily and even less that pay attention to any of this shit online that we're doing, that has any real idea that's going to be a thing soon,
I wanted to get this, we're on to the second hour of the show, so I don't know how much longer we got, but I did want to get Dave's opinion on this, because you built a very successful website / brand back in the day, or how would you, and we're talking marketing here, and not necessarily like Hex or PulseChain specifically, but if you were to market a crypto product nowadays, like, what would your outreach strategy be to try to get, perhaps higher net worth individuals to engage? Like, if you had to, not saying you would actually spend marketing dollars and you'd be like, make a conscious decision to be like, hey, this is, I'm going to throw a budget at this. But if somebody gave you a marketing budget and be like, hey, market this crypto product, how would you go about getting new users?
Well, this isn't I don't know that I would be good at it, but with my personality, my whole thing is about
outside the community. Yeah.
But my thing is all about usage. And so, whereas this isn't necessarily my thing to use, Big K, if that's the correct name. I think he said,
yes.
Yeah. It's the vibe I got is that, on Aave, it's like, you guys have your own coins. You have your own community. I mean, you guys are your own community. And so I would think you'd want to sort of get people to get them to use it in this unique way. It's like, yeah, you have Aave for this, that, and the other, but check out, there's this new token that you can do this thing that you can't do on Ethereum, and then somehow that should translate. I would imagine it translates into them buying some Hex if people are actually going to build on it and use it. I guess I don't know. My concern is that can Richard pull a rabbit out of a hat again? Because when I first saw him, I mean, he was very, the guy's entertaining, right? And he's got unique opinions on everything, and we sit there for 4 hours in the throne talking, and I mean, it's hilarious. And you know, he being in crypto for a long time, it was quite an entertaining thing. But, you know, after this big, you know, listen, he's taken a few lumps here in things that haven't worked and some things delayed. So he can't be quite, I don't know, can he be as bombastically optimistic and motivational, right? After what he's been through, I don't know. But then again, you're telling me he's sending off a bunch of crates of marketing materials. You know, his energy. The whole thing is he's got a fun energy, and then he projects that into people, and everybody wants to be in this world. I don't know. You know, it's not. This is not my world. I don't know. You know,
I enjoy your take.
I don't know that I view it as a product as much as a community, right? And I don't. Although I'm promoting my own, you know, I'm launching a book actually shortly. Financial Literacy 101. I'm marketing towards teens. But anyways, I'm just starting right now. Just trying to get a community for the book launch, and it's in a sense, eventually it's a product, but at this point, just trying to create this community, and it's just all about, listen, I'm going to help you, you can help me, we're here together, and that is in a sense too what he represents. And I don't know, what he did before certainly worked for a minute, and then can he redo it? I don't know if that answers your question. I don't know that I have an answer.
Yeah, I feel like there's. I think he might have taken some good lumps in all of it, but if Ethereum goes anywhere close to 10K and Homeboy's sitting on a couple 100,000 Ethereum, he can make his chain look as good or bad as he wants to. You know, like. Although
I remember in the last bubble, the what's the company that owns CryptoPunks and the Bored Apes. And then it was like, oh, NFTs, now they're going to crash, which they did. And it's like, but at least that company, they have $1 billion in the bank, right?
Yeah.
They can do it again. And guess what? I don't know if they still have $1 billion in the bank or they've spent it on something. But have you heard anything of that company? Like, what are they doing? It's like nothing. So sometimes when you go through that crash, you don't come out the same on the other end. So
it's true. That's true. I mean, the nice thing is that all the tokens that we lovingly gave Richard for these projects are all sitting there pretty much on chain. We can all see that, like, Homeboy is sitting there with $1 billion+ of coins.
Is it $1 billion?
Yeah, he's got. I mean, just in like I said, just in Ethereum alone, on the one sacrifice wallet is 168. It's the 4th largest Ethereum wallet, like on that ETH reserves list. So like, he's, you know, that's. You can take all the licks you want if you're sitting on that many ETH. You can talk, you know.
And that's where it's also, you know, you can spend a ton of money on marketing and get nothing, you know, whereas if you're good, it doesn't take much to do it right. And he's, you know, listen, I don't know. I'm not going to.
It might be
effective. See how he does. I don't know.
Well, yeah, I'm excited to see how it goes.
Well,
I would advise people though it's like you want to size your bet. I mean, this is we used to say this about Bitcoin a long time ago. It's binary. It could go to 0 or it could go. It's not going to 0. Ethereum's not going to 0. Hex, it's early. But on the other hand, it's undervalued if it's, you know, and so you get that huge volatile thing. But you size it properly. I wouldn't put all of your money in something that can go to 0. That's just how I live my life, right? I mean, you have some money, hopefully you have some cash, maybe you own a home, you got stocks, you got some things that won't go to 0. I love Warren Buffett stock, you know, it just goes like this every, you know, and then if this is sized properly, maybe it turns into something big, but you know, I just be careful.
Right.
One thing I wanted to say, like, so for politics, like what they say is, you know, one vote is just one vote, but $1 can get multiplied by a lot, meaning that all your marketing money, it goes much further. So if you do, I'm not an expert in marketing by any means, but if you put in, like, I don't know, $100 into Google Ads, your impressions will reach maybe 10,000 people. Whereas just if you're making the effort to go out to vote, it's just that one person that counts. And so him doing marketing, you know, I think it has a much bigger reach than what we might realize, and he is quite good at it. And so, I'd like to give him the benefit of the doubt. We've already been here for as long as we have, and we're as crazy as we are. I just don't think that there's any value in some guy that's like on Twitter that maybe lives in his mom's basement, and every day he posts on Twitter how much he hates Richard. Like, there's just no value in that, or promoting anybody that would do something like that. I think we all know somebody like this. And if we can just kind of focus back on, like, hey, we're already here. Let's make the most of it. And it does seem like the bull market's coming, or the alt season is coming. I don't think it's quite here yet, but yeah, I think there's a lot to look forward to. And just, having a better presence on Twitter could help, right? Not being so negative.
Yeah. I mean, I've been in crypto a long time, and like I'm by a bunch. Like I said, I go in all the darkest dredges, and like this shit's still the most entertaining community. The biggest. I mean, it's hard. It's whether you want to look at it because it's a beautiful rainbow or a train wreck, or somewhere in between. Like, you can't look away. It's just hard.
We're here for one reason or another, whether it's for the jokes, or because we're trapped, or both, or. It's funny, but I think broadly speaking, I don't know about this for everybody, but I definitely get the sense that a lot of people are more internet based these days because of maybe they find their communities, escapism, video games, whatever, and so but people are looking for a community, and so there's still plenty of people out there that are going to be looking for communities, and there is no community that is as outspoken and fun with the memes and everything else other than PulseChain. I really don't think there's anything else in crypto. You have the Solana, but
Dave probably doesn't even know any of this shit. So like, so when Pulse forked from Ethereum, you got copies of everything that was on Ethereum, right? So like there's an insane group of Pulse people. Like, these people are even more cult-like and insane than we are over here, and they believe that the forked, copied version of P it's like a copy.
I read about that.
Is gonna fucking peg to $1. They believe it's going to $1, dog, and they will fight you. They will fight you on the internet with their hands and mouths and everything that they can throw at you to make you believe that somehow 40 billion fucking tokens are going to somehow magically be worth $1. Even though there was that some dude figured out a printing error in amidst all this and doubled the supply and just dumped on all these kids' heads, they still were like, this is all part of Richard's master plan. Yeah. Dude, they have pictures of his tweets where they erase a bunch of letters and circle other ones and then make up fucking made up messages from his tweets and shit. They're loco en la cabeza, and like, it's incredible to watch. It's like, you just can't you're just like, holy shit, this is amazing.
Well, the thing I like about, I gotta say, because I'm always, I tend to throw cold water on the story, in the bull market. I'm like, oh, you better sell some, and then, and with pointing out the problems, and you better not, I can tend to be like that. But you know what? You guys are nice, and you laugh, and you still like me. When I go into a Bitcoin group,
oh boy,
within 2 minutes, everybody wants to kill me, and literally. All I'm saying is, I don't know if it goes up over 150. Maybe be careful. Like,
they trying to be reasonable.
People block me. Like, it's unbelievable. At least you guys, it's all in good fun here.
Oh, we have a great time with that. I mean, like, we've been up and down so much and all that, like, I'm not married to I'd rather hear good perspectives and hear your opinion on things than the same. I mean, I know what we're all going to tell each other, so it's great to have someone else's perspective around, especially, when you're just being reasonable. I get it. We're insane zealots sometimes. I appreciate your centrist behavior.
Yeah, I actually think we need a lot more of that centrist kind of mentality, especially in PulseChain. So we would love for you to, maybe do more streams with us. But there's definitely the camp that is like super negative all the time, no matter what happens. They never leave, always saying something bad. And then there's the Moon Boys that no matter what happens, everything is great. It's only going to $100 for Hex. and there's just no
Trillions in market
In
cap.
between. Yeah, no.
there's
I like to live
nothing-
in the gray area somewhere in between. That's
Yeah. And if like you have to deal with both sides, right? And in the same conversation, you have those two fighting, and then it's like, you know, you kind of want to troll and be sarcastic to both of them, and it's just like, I mean, it's a lot of fun, but it's also like drives you crazy, you know?
Yeah, you're like, man, I don't want to piss this guy off too much. I'm happy he's here buying this shit, but at the same time, like, dog, what are you saying, man?
Yeah, thank you for buying my bags, but you're also a lunatic.
But also, yeah.
Oh man. You know, we're getting up on 90 minutes here, so we'll start to land the plane. But this entire thing started and went off the rail a little bit. Go figure, with Big K talking about something. So Big K, we were talking marketing and devices. So I think you were going to perhaps postulate some thoughts on what this marketing plan could entail.
The combo vibrator Trezor. I think
that's we need more females in the community.
PulseChain branded. I can, you know,
done. Yeah.
Stick it in this side, or you stick it in this side. You know, it's like either way. Computer, you know, whatever.
You know, that could, you know, you have a because women like the vibrators, right? Men like crypto. So what better gift than like a hardware wallet in a vibrator that's loaded with money, right? But she can't get it. You have the code. You give her the gift. You're like, this thing has 10,000, or you just even show what's in it. And so you have it, you use it, and think about, right? Because she doesn't like you anyway. She just wants you for your money. So she has your money. She's literally coming for your money.
That's amazing.
This is a great product.
This is a fucking
it needs to be done. And this is something I know.
Yeah. I mean, that's it. That's it.
So
thank you, Big K, for, you know, getting that out of Dave.
This is going places, guys. I'm gonna patent site right now.
Oh boy. That'll be clipped somewhere, I'm sure. Anyway,
there's like APIs that are tied to like the price chart, so every time there's a new high, it just starts going off by itself.
Yeah, it just starts vibrating whenever time. That's great. Oh, we must be doing good, guys.
I'm pretty sure there's a lot of guys in Hexaco that would also be interested in that, just from how they act. So
yeah, you come out with a complimentary butt plug.
Yeah, one of those little.
Oh man!
So yeah, hopefully we get to see these devices soon. I'm excited to see what's on them.
All right.
My more reasonable guess is like there's just a speaker recording with like a postcard kind of message, and Richard is hopefully not berating people for being stupid, and hopefully he's just giving a message about like, hey, why you want to get into crypto, and he beat the SEC and everything's legal. I think that's a reasonable take for the size of the battery that he was talking about. I think that's probably what it is, rather than a video, which will probably take a lot more.
Yeah, I was thinking that too. I was hoping, and like oh, this is actually the future world. Now it's like, it'd be cool if it were a little screen, LCD screen, but like, we're not in the future. There's no flying cars yet, guys. So
a little like those happy birthday cards. You open the card.
Yeah.
It's probably something more along those lines, you know.
Yeah, I think I've always said like, was it in Malta years and years ago where he's in the suit looking strut, like on stage talking. Like that's the RH like that I would just love to see speaking to, new users, potential.
Yeah.
Like, the guy is just, looks good. Evidently he could be jacked for all we know right now. Could be. And in a suit, and he's always well spoken. So even though whoever is
love
running,
to have him back to streaming too,
Yeah. Yes.
I think he really captures the audience when he gets on streams and does interviews. And
I mean, he retweeted that PulseX conference, and in like the 30 minutes that I was on doing my thing, the retweet went up like 11,000 views, and
Yeah.
that's just
He's
for a
the
retweet.
biggest and best marketer that Hexago has. So we'd love to have him back if you're listening. And I honestly,
he's
I know
a big
Richard
fan of the
pretty well.
show. I've heard.
Yeah,
he's been on.
Yeah,
I think we know him pretty well, and I imagine he would love to be back. I think there's just some circumstances which are preventing that, and that's fine. Let's do the marketing. Let's get it going. And
yeah, I mean, if the marketing, if like the pushes work, if actual direct contact mailing stuff is bring some people in on top of ideally some other facets of it, then I'm in. Like I said, I'm in either way. Get me a mailer. Let's do this shit.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of marketing and other things, Dave, as we close out the show, we always like to do a show farewell segment. So you did mention earlier that you are, I guess, is it launching an actual book?
Well, I'm on a mission. Kids graduate from school in debt with no clue what they're going to do in their life, and I think it's a travesty. We spend 2,000 hours at least just on math, another 2,000 just on English. Those things are lovely. But why does it have to be 0 hours on financial literacy? And so I'm targeting high school age to learn about financial literacy. It's not even about money for me. I mean, I've ultimately create a course. The money uses to make it scale. I sort of have my money. This is just something I think is so important. And I have young kids, and I don't want them to graduate leave college as communists. So so as I started creating this, I had all this stuff. Like, what do you teach? There's so much to teach. Like, I think it should be 4 years, right? Just like you have math every day. It's a lot of stuff. So I started putting it together, and then I was like, you know what? I need to write a book. So I put it all in a book. First draft is done. It looks like I'm going to launch mid-October. And I have a thing. You can go to davelevine.com where I always have the latest updates. But probably next week I'm launching the advanced reader community, where if you sign up, if you say, yeah, I'll write a review, we're going to get you an early links. You get the book for free. Basically, on the first 2 days, you want everyone to buy that book, even if it's free, and leave a review. That's what gets that ball rolling on Amazon. So that's what I'm working on. I think the book's good. I think it's good for anybody, even if, you guys might know, hopefully a lot more than the average, but you'd be surprised.
Sounds like
just 50 years old. What's that?
That sounds like a marketing strategy. So you were like, oh, I don't know how to market things. That was a great way to get yourself out there, and then put it out, and then build the community, and then people come for the book. Right.
I feel like I know how to market. It's feeling good because it's a real. I'm not just selling a product. Like, I really.
You believe in it.
And I literally I drop my kids off to school every day, and I'm just like, I feel like I'm sending them to a madrasa. I'm like, I need to. I'm fired up. So, anyways, so. Hopefully, if any of you just want to help out, you can get you even get an advanced copy of the book, help me out, join the thing. Follow me on it. I'm going to start doing a lot more content, actually, starting in a week or two. I'll be making content, still talk about crypto, but I'm going to be talking also about this stuff in general. And davelevine.com will have links to all my social and the book stuff. Appreciate awesome feedback.
And you speak on a wide variety of topics, so I think that'd just be cool to go do a crypto video now and then, but also plug this just at the very end of your video, because it taps into you have a wide variety of knowledge on different topics, so you can do a bunch.
And I've also I've talked to a lot of people who want career advice or have me look at their portfolio and give advice, and I have done it different, for free, for money, this and that. But what I'm going to start doing is, if you get in the advanced reader community, then I'll meet with you for free if anybody wants advice or crypto. You want me to look at your crypto folio, get a second look at it. That's sort of how I'm angling.
I would love I would love for you to look at Big K's crypto portfolio.
Let's do it. It's all hex, right?
No.
It's not all hex.
I've never seen it, but I can only imagine what's in there. So
There's a lot of shit coins. There's a lot of shit coins.
All right.
I mean, I like Ethereum too, though. I'm a big fan of that too.
Hey, we're big fans of Ethereum. I think everybody here is in this community. So yeah. It's way worse. So yeah.
Actually, that's when I started watching. Richard was early in like saying, you know, how Bitcoin has problems. When Bitcoin was running in like 2019 and 20, Bitcoin again ran up first and nothing else did anything into like 2020. And then it changed, right? And then it became, Ethereum's better for a while. And he was early in like saying, you know what, no, Ethereum's awesome and Bitcoin has these and those problems. And he was early. That was one of his things that was interesting. It was different at the time.
Yeah. I mean, perspectives on crypto is kind of like what the marketing thing could be about, like alternative views. I mean, everybody's gotten pitched on, you know, hey, crypto, you know, this, that, digital gold, and you know, the digital silver, whatever. But it'd be interesting if perhaps there was like a different pitch. Somebody in the chat mentioned like, you know, great security, stuff like that. That's becoming a topic nowadays. But yeah, be curious. I'm super curious. Big K, back to you, my friend. As we get out of here, where can we find you? Anything you would like to show?
At Big Krakowski on Twitter and Telegram. You can find me. I don't know. I got nothing really going on at the moment. I'm working on a few things that might be fun, but nothing besides just find me if you care. If not, it's cool. Let's go bull run. Let's do this. Let's
bull run.
Yeah.
Yash, you are last on the list in the clockwise order, my friend. Where can we find you, and what do you have to say before we get to this weekend?
Well, you can find me on Twitter, Yashdeep369. If you don't have to though.
Like Big K.
Yeah,
it's okay if you don't.
Yeah, I'm here. It's fine. Whatever.
It's not okay if you don't follow me.
Yeah. I was saying.
Just so you know.
Please follow me. What am I outside of crypto? Well, I'm definitely excited about crypto right now. It's been brutal.
This is the time to get excited if you have not been for years. So.
Real quick, funny story. I had a friend who, you know, I told him about PulseChain about a year ago. I think he bought like $500 worth or something, and you know, obviously it's been crazy since then. And he recently just reached out to me and he was like, "Hey, what do you think about XRP? I bought a bunch." And I was like, in my head, I'm like, you know, this guy, he knows that I'm into crypto. We see each other often enough where he could have just asked me about, you know, crypto before he bought it. But his thinking was, I'm just going to buy this thing because I saw a bunch of TikToks or whatever. And then I'm going to go to my guy who knows crypto and I'm going to ask him what he thinks about XRP. And in my head, I'm like, okay, this is a top signal. And it pretty much was. You know, we've had a little bit of a correction since then. So I don't think we're getting frothy yet. But, you know, it's just interesting to see that, you know, the normies are starting to think about it. So it should be exciting. And then outside of crypto, you know, I mentioned briefly, I'm just trying to start my own engineering and manufacturing company. Don't have too many details to share right now, but hopefully it's a high risk, but we'll see if it works out. Hopefully it does.
Hey man, you're in Hex and PulseChain, so I think you're risk averse.
Yeah, relatively speaking, I think it'll be fine. I think it'll be great.
Well, great stuff, gents. I appreciate you guys being here and appreciate the chat. I mean, we haven't done the show in forever, but
a month and a half or so.
News flow is picking up, so we might see a little bit more in the coming weeks and months. So appreciate everybody that's been sticking with us for the past hour and a half or so. And as always, stay tuned to my Twitter, Big K's Twitter, wherever the socials. We'll tell you when the show's coming up next. Big thanks to Big K for co-hosting pretty much, I think, forever now. And Dave and Yash for being guests. Super fun, great discussion. If you're just logging in, a lot about Ethereum, and then we got into later the RH ecosystem, PulseChain, so good stuff. Thank you, everybody. And with that, I mean, I guess we're just going to say happy weekend and cheers, everybody.
Thank you. Thanks for calling me.
Cheers.
Appreciate it.
You guys.
Glad to have you, man. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thanks.